Okay, when you picture Roman roads, what's the first thing you see? I'm willing to bet it's a legion, right? Thousands of soldiers marching in perfect sync, sandals hitting the stone, conquering everything in their path. It's this epic, powerful image we all have. But what if I told you that's just a tiny, tiny piece of the real story? So let's dig into that, because the truth is honestly way more interesting than just armies and battles. The whole purpose of this massive network, it's kind of been turned into a myth over time. The day-to-day reality of these roads, yeah, that tells a completely different tale. I mean, this is the Hollywood version, isn't it? All roads lead to Rome so the legions can march out and conquer. And look, that's not wrong, exactly, but focusing only on the military side of things, it's like saying the internet is just for sending government emails. You're missing the entire revolution that it caused. All right, so let's pull apart this popular story and get to what was really going on. Sure, the army built a lot of the first roads, but the empire that grew up around those roads, it completely changed what they were for, into something much bigger and honestly a lot more peaceful. And here's the key thing to get. Yes, the roads were a tool for conquest, no doubt. But they were an even more powerful tool for keeping the peace, for running the empire, and for making it rich. They were built to hold everything together long after the last battle was fought. Just look at how this breaks down. On one side, you've got the military stuff we all think about, moving troops, securing land, supplying the army. But check out the civilian side. Commercial trade, the imperial mail, private travel, keeping the administration running. This was the everyday 24/7 reality of the Roman road network. It was the empire's circulatory system. So what did that actually look like? Well, let's follow the money. Because these roads weren't just pathways made of stone. They were the arteries of what was, for its time, a globalized economy. They were literally pumping goods and wealth across Europe, Africa, and Asia. And the sheer variety of stuff moving around is just incredible. I mean, just think about it for a second. You could be a merchant in Britain, sipping wine from Gaul, cooking with olive oil from Spain, all while your local governor is writing on papyrus that came all the way from Egypt. That entire world was only possible because of how good this road network was. And the scale of this project is, well, it's mind-blowing. We're talking 400,000 kilometers of roads. To put that in perspective, that's enough to go around the Earth 10 times. And what's really wild is that parts of these ancient superhighways are still being used today, 2,000 years later. Okay, and this right here is the number that really puts it all into perspective. In peacetime, and that was most of the time for the empire, military traffic made up maybe 10% of what was on the roads. Just 10%. The other 90%? That was the real lifeblood of the empire. Carts full of goods, official messengers, and just regular people going about their lives. So the roads moved goods, but they also moved something even more important, information. You can think of them as the nervous system of the empire. They were the original information superhighway, and they're what allowed one person, the emperor, to control a territory with millions of people. And this wasn't some random ad hoc thing. The Romans, being Romans, built an incredibly organized system for it. It was called the cursus publicus. Seriously, think of it like a government-run mashup of FedEx, the Pony Express, and the Secret Service's motorcade, all rolled into one. Its whole job was to move official mail and government officials at unbelievable speeds. So how did it work? Well, it was basically a high-speed relay system. A courier would gallop on horseback to a relay station, a mutatio, swap for a fresh horse, and just keep going. These stations were spaced out every 10 kilometers or so. Then, for overnight trips, they had these official inns called mansonias. The whole system was built for one thing: nonstop speed. And the result? An urgent message could cover about 80 kilometers in a single day. You have to remember, this is a world with no engines, no electricity. That was lightning fast. It meant the emperor in Rome could hear about a problem on the border with Scotland and send a reply in weeks, not months. It basically shrunk the known world. All right, so we've got goods moving and information flying. But what about the people? The roads did so much more than just connect cities and government outposts. They were actually weaving together the social fabric of the empire, blending hundreds of different cultures into something we can call Roman. So if you were standing by the side of a Roman road, who would you see? Pretty much everyone. You'd see merchants with their carts, government officials in their carriages, students traveling to study in places like Athens or Alexandria. You'd see pilgrims, families, and yeah, even tourists. It's wild to think that for the first time in history, someone could travel from Britain all the way to Egypt and pretty much use the same language and money the whole way. And you have to imagine the sense of wonder people must have felt. It's like their entire world just shrank. It got faster, it got more connected. The roads took this abstract idea of a Roman Empire and made it something real, something you could actually travel across and experience firsthand. So all of this brings us to a totally new way of looking at the Roman legacy. We all hear about the Pax Romana, the great Roman peace. Well, that peace wasn't just enforced by the sharp end of a spear. It was built, day in and day out, by the ordinary, peaceful traffic flowing along these very roads. When you look at it this way, it becomes so clear. Military power was just one piece of the puzzle. The real strength, the foundation of the whole thing, was the economic stability and the administrative unity that these roads made possible. They created a system where it was just better for everyone to be part of the empire. It gave people a real stake in keeping the peace. And this, right here, is probably the biggest takeaway from all of this. The true genius of the Roman road wasn't about winning wars. It was about preventing them from ever starting. By connecting everyone through trade and culture, they made people dependent on each other. The roads were proactive peacemaking, not just reactive warfighting. So in the end, yeah, the legions were the skeleton that gave the empire its structure. But the roads, they were the living, breathing, circulatory, and nervous system. They carried the lifeblood, the trade, the ideas, the culture that let Roman civilization thrive for hundreds and hundreds of years. And that kind of leaves us with one last question to chew on. The Romans had their network of stone roads holding their world together. So what about our world? What are the invisible networks? The fiber optic cables under the ocean, the GPS satellites, the standardized shipping containers that are quietly holding our global society together today. It's a pretty interesting thing to think about.